Alright, let's take a look at starting this week's assignments. And let's say I'm going to start on Chapter 2. Say I've already done the other ones. I do want to finish 1.8 through Chapter 1 post-test first. But say I'm looking at a fresh start right here in Chapter 2. Okay, so I'm going to do a pre-test. I'm going to do, let's see, the first 2 sections this week. Okay, so we're going to get all of those done this week. Now, before I start Chapter 2, I can take the pre-test cold. It doesn't matter to your score at all, but it's also a nice idea to take a look at the book so we know what we're expecting. So in Chapter 2, I can just click on 2.1 here. I'm going to click on the Multimedia e-text. So opening up the textbook, I just want to talk real quickly about a couple of things that I notice when I'm reading through this. Okay, so when the text opens, so what I'm looking at here, trying to figure out what I want to read on this screen, is first of all the title of the section, the addition property of equality, and then the objectives for this section. Identify linear equations in one variable, use the addition property of equality, and solve applied problems. So that gives me a little bit of an idea what I'm looking at, but I'm going to need to look at those objectives to get a better idea of what they mean. Okay. Now, there are links that are embedded in the textbook to make it as easy to use as possible. So the video links are all embedded right here inside of the textbook. So if I click on one of these video links, this is going to open up a video that's going to talk about each of the objectives in the section. So objective 1, for example, is talking about linear equations in one variable. And again, it just started talking in my headphones. When you click on it, you'll be able to hear what they're talking about. And I can go back to the menu and watch a video on any of the other objectives that I want. Okay, so I'm going to just click back over here. Okay, so this video is just another spot to get a video on the objective. So if I wasn't ready to watch it at the top of the page, this is my video again on that specific objective. I'm going to pause that one for a second. Okay. Oops. I better close it. It's still talking to me. Okay. So video links. It's called Video Blue Box. So it's a video about this blue box and about this definition. So again, the top of a chapter, I have a video that includes all of the objectives, and somewhere near each of the individual objectives, I'm going to have a video link to talk specifically about that objective. Okay. I'm going to go to the next page. Okay. The second objective, and again, here's my video about the second objective. It's talking about this definition. It says it's a definition video. And I think that these videos right here are going to have a little bit more than the one at the beginning of the chapter. So that one's more of an overview, and then these ones go a little bit more in depth. That's my understanding. Okay. Now, as I'm looking through the book, the videos highlight really important areas, and so do the colored boxes. Like this blue box right here signifies a definition or an important property. Anything that's in bold is also trying to emphasize something important. Okay. Okay, now it can be a little bit dry to read through all this content and a little bit harder to absorb it. So I usually go back and forth between reading and looking at examples. What I would like to do is look at an example. It's when if I don't understand the example that I really need to go back up here and read it. A lot of times we can get a lot of understanding by looking at an example, and that saves us a little bit of headache of trying to sort through all of the reading. Okay, so I'm going to look at this example right here and say they're trying to solve this equation. We want to isolate the variable, so we're going to start by adding 3 to both sides. And so my given equation, I'm adding 3 to both sides. This step right here is often done mentally and not listed. So it's often done mentally that negative 3 plus 3 is 0, and we don't often need to write that, but they're writing it right here to make it clear that what's happening right here is those add to 0, which is why I get x plus 0 is just x, and 8 plus 3 is 11, so that's how I get my solution. Okay, so if I read through this example and it makes sense, then I might want to try a problem. Okay, so we've got a couple of options here. So for one, if I read through and it makes sense, I might want to try my own. So I'm going to click on the cone-shaped button that says you try it, and here's an equation. I'm going to try it. So we're going to try this on paper. It has a -7, so we're going to add 7 to both sides, and 24 plus 7 is 31, and let's check it. Okay, so I got that one right. Okay, now I can try a similar exercise, or I can do it again just to make sure I really got it. Add 1 to both sides, x is equal to 21. Okay, and I could just do similar exercises. Now, this just pulls up one example specifically like the example that was in the book for us to practice. So it's not part of the homework assignment to do these, but it will help get you ready for some of the problems that are in the assignment. Okay, so now if I had looked through this example and was not comfortable with it, did not really understand what was going on, again, I said we might want to read through the more thorough explanation up at the top, read through the property of equality, watch our video again for the definition, and there's a video right here that goes through an example, and so I can listen to someone explaining about the example. Okay, so again, they're talking in my headphones about the problem. I'm listening for a second. And they're saying something about, well, it's a +7, so, and then they're going to give me an explanation of how to solve this and how to check my solution. Okay, so as you can kind of see, like, we're not seeing anything written down here, so there's quite a lot of verbal explanation going on in this video to talk through how we want to start this equation, to solve this equation. I'm going to pause it. Okay, so that'll give us an even better idea of how to solve this one. And there's one more tool in this example. Not all examples are going to have this tool, but some do. This one's an animation. So the animation, it's still loading. This is its loading screen. Okay. Okay, we're going to view the example. So again, it's reminding us the objective of this animation, and I'm listening right now in my headphones to someone talking about this problem and the objectives and balance. Okay, so this animation is going to give us yet another way of getting a handle on how to solve this equation. So they're talking about balance, that when you have an equation, both sides are in balance, etc. So it's a really good tool to use, and there are a couple different examples here of this example. Pause. Okay. So when I look through the book, reading is certainly not the only option. It's really important to click on any of the links that I find in it to give me some more practice, to give me a video, to give me an animation. Okay, reading is by far the driest and probably your last resort option. As weird as that sounds, right? When we're doing math, math is all about practice and seeing how things are done. So these seeing and trying links are really important in terms of going through the book. Okay? This over here, this is actually how I prefer to write things on paper. Instead of writing the +3 to the side, I like to have my original equation and just write the +3 underneath. So if you've seen that before, that's my preference as well. A lot of textbooks will use the +3 to the side because it's easier to do in printed type, but in handwriting, yeah, this is the way I prefer, and you know, it doesn't matter which way you get used to doing it. So anytime you see one of these orange boxes with that great question, it's something to think about, because it could give you a tip, or it could give you like a hint, like some of the common mistakes we want to try to avoid. Okay, so I'm going to click real quick just through a couple other things. Looks like this picture right here was what was in the animation, something similar to that. Okay, keep going. I'm going to go to the next page. Okay, so we got another example here, another video about that example, another exercise to try. Here's another example with another exercise to try. So again, really important when I'm looking at these to check, do I get it? Can I do it? Okay. Okay, moving on, another example. Here's another one to try, another video. Okay. We're on to objective 3, another video about the objective, a video about the example. Alright, and then we've hit the end of the chapter, and so we've got the concept and vocabulary check, so we can check for our understanding by answering questions like this and checking our answers. So like reading these, we could guess the answer, but we wouldn't know if we're right. That's why we're going to click this link right here so that we can fill in the blank, and it'll tell us if we're correct with our concept and vocabulary. Same thing right here, the 2.1 exercise set. Those aren't actually links. This is the printed book just telling us that there are videos. So these are links right here, and again, the links that I find in the textbook are not to homework problems, but they're to more problems that I can use for practice to make sure I've got my understanding there. Okay, so I might do some of that before I start the pre-test to get an idea what's going on, and I might only still do some of that before I start the first homework. Let me go back at the homework now and look at the homework. Okay. So I'm going to look at homework 2.1. Okay, and let's say I kind of got an idea of the first objective and I want to practice some of my homework right now. I'm going to click on the first homework problem, and that one is one of the definitions. Okay, so I'm going to look at one of the ones that is something that wants me to do, an equation to solve. Okay. So let's say I read my book a little bit and I got to this homework problem, but I forgot what to do. Okay, I really want to pay attention to these right here. These tools over here are going to be really useful. All of them, they're going to be really useful. So I'm going to talk about those again. The textbook will open up from here. I don't need to go back over here to my textbook section while I'm in the homework. I can just click on the textbook and it will open up to that section, and I can again look for the example, like say, oh, I know I just saw that, where was it? And I can go back and look at the textbook. Okay, it's still loading. I'm just going to close that. Okay, a couple of the other things. Remember in the textbook that we did have a video and an animation for examples like that. So if you want to watch those again, or if you haven't watched them yet but want to watch them, those links are also available inside the homework section. Now the other two links help me solve this and view an example. Let me click view an example first. So view an example is going to walk me through a problem very similar to this one, and it's going to tell me the steps that are necessary to completing it. So the first thing it tells me is that I'm going to be using the addition property of equality. If I hit continue, it talks about subtraction. Okay, so this is addition, 7 z plus 7. So subtraction is the inverse of addition. So, etc. I'm going to need to subtract 7 from both sides to get the z plus 0, following the z. Okay, so it's setting it up now, it's showing me the step, and again, it's a pretty thorough explanation right here in the view and example, and then to finally get the answer and type the answer in. Alright, so I'm going to hit close on this. So view and example gives me a pretty thorough explanation, hopefully. It is all text, but a pretty thorough explanation of a problem similar to the one I was working on. Okay, so the video or animation would give me a more verbal explanation. And the Help Me Solve This does the same thing, but it works through the exact problem that I have to solve right here. Now there's a couple benefits and downsides to that. Sometimes it is that problem, like if you saw it with different numbers you could do it, but that problem was confusing you. So it's nice to be able to work through that one exactly. And again, it'll work through it and ask me what needs to be done. Do I need to subtract the positive number from both sides? Yep, that's what I need to do. What number should be subtracted from both sides? Subtract 4, yep, and so on. Continue. But when I do that, I automatically get the problem wrong because it wants me to do it again with new numbers to show that I've mastered the topic. So I hope that helps.